Princess Faith's Mysterious Garden by Gianna Young and Jacqueline Johnson. Once upon a time, in a magnificent castle perched high on a hill above the sea, there lived 5 princesses. Their names were Joy, Grace, Faith, Hope, and Charity. They were blessed to be the daughters of the king. This is the story of Princess Faith. She can often be found her nose in a book of tales of faraway lands. Wandering amidst the blissful beauty of the outdoors, she and her pet rabbit Buttercup take in the fragrance of each season. And unlike her sisters, Faith is calm in all situations, even when it comes to her own budding mystery. Bright and early one morning, Princess Faith and Buttercup wandered outside the castle walls in search of fresh flowers. When Faith had gathered a fragrant bouquet, she called, "Buttercup!" She heard rustling in the bushes. Poor Buttercup was caught in the thicket. Gently, Princess Faith pulled her feet from the thorny vines and thistles. Hugging the fluffy ball of fur tightly, she caught a glimpse of something hidden behind the climbing vines. Tearing away the vines, Princess Faith pushed open a creaky old door to find a dark passage that led through the castle wall. "Where does this go, Buttercup?" Inching slowly through the dark, she felt spiderwebs brush against her face and heard swishing noises overhead. To Faith's amazement, the passage led back inside the courtyard to a place with trellises and arbors. What a beautiful garden it must have been, she thought. Then Princess Faith had an idea. Wasting no time, Faith hurried back into the castle to find her father, who was meeting with his advisors. Respectfully knocking on the door, Faith tiptoed to her father and whispered in his ear, "Of course you may plant your own flowers. We haven't used that garden in many years," the king whispered back. "Oh, thank you, Daddy," Faith said, leaving him with a kiss on the cheek. "Today is the best day of all, Buttercup. I'm going to plant my very own garden with roses, daffodils, and lavender," Princess Faith sang as she quickly rounded a corner passing her sisters. "Come on, girls, I can't wait to show you. I found a hidden garden. Daddy says I can plant my own flowers." Faith stopped. There it was, the creaky old door. As they entered, the princesses chattered nervously. Princess Charity asked quietly, "What if there was a fox waiting at the other end?" As if on cue, they heard branches cracking at the end of the tunnel. They shrieked and huddled together. "Who's there?" the princesses said in unison. To their surprise, a huge man stepped into the opening. "It is I," said one of the king's guards in a deep voice. "By whose authority do you enter here?" he said sternly. "Our father, the king's," Princess Faith said confidently. With a smile, the guard stepped aside as the girls gave a huge sigh of relief. The sisters quickly began to work. Princess Faith divided the garden into 4 plots. Her sisters helped by digging little holes in the first section and patiently burying each seed. As dusk came, they were finished. Faith stood back and imagined the beauty to come. As the princesses got ready to leave, a spooky flock of blackbirds with beady gray eyes flew overhead and dive-bombed the garden. Alarmed, the princesses yelled at them to fly away, but the creatures gobbled up all the seeds without even leaving one. Then the birds flew off with eerie shrieks. The next day, after planting the garden again, Princess Faith thanked her sisters. "You are the best sisters in the whole universe. And just look at the very scary scarecrow you made to keep away those ugly birds." With a smile on her face and a prayer on her lips, Faith could not wait to see how those seeds would grow. And all the seeds grew. A few days later, little sprouts appeared and the girls were ecstatic. But just as quickly as they sprung up, they wilted and died. The soil was too shallow and rocky, and the sun was blistering hot. Encouraging his princesses, the king said, "This is unexpected, Faith, but when unexpected things happen, we learn the most valuable lessons." Inspired, Princess Faith agreed to try once more. The following day, the sisters planted in deeper soil with no rocks, and as days passed, the girls prayed as they watered the plants and carefully tended the garden. Eventually, the daffodils and lavender began to grow, and they were spectacular. One night, Princess Faith listened from her bed as the darkness brought rain. Lightning flashed, thunder shook the castle, and the howling wind blew. Princess Faith whispered a prayer for her new garden, and wondered how her little sprouts were faring. Dear Lord, help our garden survive this fierce storm. The tempest did not pass the next day or the next. Finally, one morning, the sun peeked out from behind the dark clouds. Princess Faith's heart pounded as she and her sisters ran to the garden. "Oh no!" said Princess Hope. "All the flowers are gone." Her sisters began to mumble and complain about the thorny black weeds that had grown and choked the seedlings. "It's okay," Faith assured them. "Even though we don't understand why things like this happen, God uses these things to grow our hearts." Slowly leaving the garden, Princess Faith spied one solitary bloom in all its glory. This amazing flower had grown in the rich, moist soil of the fourth plot. How blessed they were to see that no matter what that storm threw out this one little seed, it grew. Undefeated, Princess Faith and her sisters grabbed their garden tools and planted the last section. One morning at breakfast, several weeks later, the king rushed into the kitchen. "Faith, the garden, it's beautiful. Your faithfulness and dedication have been rewarded. Come and see," the king said with joy. The princesses could not believe their eyes. "Daddy, who would have thought the abandoned garden could be this beautiful?" Princess Faith said, twirling around. The princesses laughed as they ran through the rows of flowers, enjoying the fruit of their faith journey. This mysterious garden had grown beyond their wildest imaginations.